Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving deep today into event marketing, but specifically where that traditional sales funnel friction just gets, well, completely wiped out by a really clean, simple technical shortcut. If you're a marketer, you definitely know the pain, right? You've got a great landing page, you capture emails, and then you're stuck relying on this whole sequence of follow-up emails, drip campaigns, reminders, whatever, just trying to communicate the details and so eventually coax visitors into actually signing up for the event itself. That whole process is just so long, it's noisy, and honestly, every single step is another chance for the user to just drop off.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating here is how they completely reframed that problem. Instead of just trying to smooth out the friction after the sign up, the team behind the calendar invite server, Greg Hanshin and Arnie McInnes, they focused on eliminating it right at the point of capture. They basically pioneered this idea of embedding the actual calendar invite mechanism straight into the landing page. So our mission today is really to dissect the exact technical and design workflow that makes these things work. These upcoming events landing pages, they're built for high conversion, making that sign up pretty much instantaneous.
Right. So we're not just analyzing a standard lead magnet here. Not at all. We're looking at a system where the call to action isn't subscribe. It's more like send me the actual calendar asset
Yeah.
right now. And that needs some seriously reliable tech underneath it, doesn't it? So what does the foundation actually look like for these customized pages? And, why did they pick the specific tools they did?
Well, the foundation is maybe surprisingly pretty simple in terms of the core languages. It's just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript,
Mhm.
standard web stuff. But the choices they made in the frameworks, that's where it gets strategic. They're really designed purely for, let's say, speed, consistency, and reactivity. Those are like the three pillars for a friction-free experience.
Okay, tell us about those choices then, because just listing tools is one thing, but telling us why they matter for the final result, that's the deep dive.
Absolutely. So they relied heavily on Vue.js for all the interactivity on the page. The real genius of Vue here is its reactive nature. So when a user types their email or clicks that permission checkbox, Vue immediately updates the page's state. It makes sure that crucial send invite button activates instantly, visibly. This avoids any kind of lag and ensures the system basically reacts to the user faster than they can even question the process. It just feels immediate. Then you've got Tailwind CSS. Now, this wasn't picked just because it's popular. It enables really rapid, consistent styling directly within the HTML markup. Think about it, if you're deploying dozens, maybe hundreds of unique event pages, speed of iteration really matters. Tailwind helps ensure that clean, professional look without getting bogged down and managing loads of custom CSS files. It avoids those headaches.
Okay, that makes sense for styling and reactivity. But what about the data handling? Because the whole thing relies on accurately getting and processing event times, I'd imagine. That sounds tricky.
Precisely. Yeah, for the API interaction side, they use Axios. It's pretty much the standard workhorse for making those necessary API requests. Reliable. But critically, for handling dates and times, which is absolutely paramount in event scheduling, they used AJS. Events can be global, time zones are notoriously difficult to get right. DJS is lightweight but really robust. It ensures that the event time displayed to the user is accurate no matter where the organizer or the invitee happens to be. So really, every tool choice supports that ultimate goal. Low cognitive load for the user and super high conversion reliability.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Every single component seems geared toward that, like instant gratification for the user.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to where this gets maybe a bit more complex architecturally, the data acquisition part. When a visitor actually hits one of these landing pages, they need to see all of the organizer's relevant future events, right? But the URL they clicked might only reference one single event. How does that
Yeah.
work?
Ah, yes. This is that critical multi-step sequence the CIS team designed. It's quite clever. All the event data is fetched using predefined get MTIs, and it arrives as a standard JSON array. But the key, the really clever part, is how they move from just that single point of reference, that one event, to the organizer's entire portfolio of upcoming events. The process kicks off by leveraging the URL parameters, specifically the event ID. That ID is used in the very first call, which goes to the single event API endpoint.
Okay, now here's where I want to push back just a little bit. Why the two-step dance? If I'm making a secure, authenticated request, wouldn't it be maybe more efficient, perhaps even simpler, security-wise, to just use one single API call? authenticated with a key to just ask for all future events for Organizer X? Why start with one specific event ID?
That's an excellent question, actually, and it really highlights the architectural strategy behind the calendar invite server. Because while, yeah, a single massive query might seem more efficient on the surface, this two-step process actually provides some crucial benefits for the architecture, particularly around data governance and scalability. See, by using the event ID first, the system very quickly validates that the event actually exists. That's step one. And it immediately identifies the authorized entity, the organizer, through that initial JSON response. That response is small, it's quick. The system gets the one crucial piece of info it needs, the organizer's email address.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you're using the event ID not just as data, but almost like an implicit security token to identify who should actually own the subsequent request for the full list. Is that right?
Exactly. It ensures the organizer is properly permissioned for that data retrieval before you execute what could be a much heavier second query. That second query then uses the verified organizer email to get the complete listing of all events associated with that specific entity. This whole approach segments the access control, and it helps optimize the system load, especially if an organizer has like hundreds of past and future events. So yeah, it's kind of strategic security disguised as just a simple workflow.
Okay, that makes perfect sense, especially for a platform that's maybe designed for high volume.
Yeah.
So once that potentially massive JSON array is pulled back, the one with everything the organizer's ever scheduled, we hit the next logistical hurdle, the presentation. You can't just dump a massive chronological list on the visitor. They'll just be overwhelmed, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where the data processing steps in, specifically to eliminate all that digital clutter. When the raw data first arrives, it's actually organized by the creation date of the event record itself. The sources call it last in, first out order. So, like if an organizer entered their Christmas party event way back in January, it actually appears last in the raw list. That's obviously useless for a visitor who's trying to plan their week or month.
Right. So the data has to be instantly restructured on the client side.
Correct. The system immediately performs two really critical transformations. First, all past events are just eliminated entirely. You obviously can't sign up for something that's already happened. Second, the remaining data array is resorted into a logical now to future sequence. That's the only order that really matters to the user.
The genius then, it seems, comes from how that now filtered, chronologically sorted array is presented visually to simplify navigation.
Absolutely. And this is where that pre-built page design uses that monthly calendar view really effectively. It basically functions as a powerful filtering tool. So instead of scrolling down some potentially long list, the visitor just clicks a date on the calendar and boom, the full event list is immediately filtered down to show just the events scheduled for that specific day.
And I like the focus on smart UX there. You mentioned only days that actually events are clickable.
Yeah.
Events those frustrating dead ends.
That's right. Smart design. And the system also defaults to displaying events for today when the page first loads. This ensures the visitor always has some actionable information right away the moment the page loads. So if you kind of synthesize that whole multi-step data flow, starting with the single event ID, validating the organizer, pulling the full list, then filtering out the past, reassorting to the future, that comprehensive process makes sure the visitor only ever sees relevant, timely, future-focused information. And that's really all the preparation needed for the conversion step.
Which brings us right to the actual conversion point itself, eliminating the friction of input. We've done all this heavy lifting on the back end to provide perfect data. Now we need to make it super easy for the user to commit with minimum effort. What's the absolute bare minimum the system asks for?
The design mandate here was really clear. Friction has to be minimized down to basically one necessary element. And that's just a simple text input box for the email address. That's it. They explicitly decided to avoid asking for name, phone number, anything else, even though the underlying CIS system can process that info. The goal was just speed, pure speed.
Okay, but what about trust? Since they're kind of bypassing the standard email marketing opt-in flow and going straight to delivering a calendar item, they must need explicit permission, right?
That's the second critical piece, absolutely, the permission checkbox. It's not just, a legal thing, it's a trust element too. The user has to manually confirm, yes, I am requesting a calendar invite sent to this specific address. This helps ensure you get high-quality signups and it confirms their intent.
And the actual send the invite button is pretty cleverly tied into this input logic too, I gather.
Oh yeah, it is disabled by default when the page first loads. Can't click it. It only activates. It becomes clickable once the visitor has entered a valid email address format and ticked that permission box and that instantaneous visible activation that's powered by Vue.js again. It gives immediate visual feedback that, okay, you're ready to go.
Okay, here's a major point I think that often gets overlooked in typical landing page designs.
Yeah.
Data persistence. How does the system handle a visitor who might want to sign up for, say, multiple events across the month? Do they have to type their email every time?
Ugh. Oh, this is probably a single highest conversion accelerator in the entire workflow. It's huge. Once the visitor inputs their email and checks that permission box, that data persists in the browser session for that visit. They absolutely do not have to re-enter it. If they click from Tuesday's event listing over to Friday's event listing, the form fields stay populated, and crucially, the permission box stays checked. What this means is they can rapidly self-select. They can request invites for 3, 4, maybe 5 different events with just a single click per event. It turns what would normally be a single conversion into potentially an accelerated bulk conversion. The system isn't just designed for low friction for one sign-up. It's designed for high-volume selection from a single engaged visitor.
Wow. That's actually a phenomenal insight. Totally changes the psychology, doesn't it? It goes from, should I sign up for this one thing, to, okay, which of these many relevant things will I attend? All right, so let's talk about the final technical action then. The button is active, they've self-selected, they click it. What happens next to ensure that instant delivery?
Right, so the active button triggers a pretty simple send calendar invite API function. It's executed as a final GDE request straight to the calendar invite server. And this request only needs 3 key pieces of data to work successfully. First, the event ID, obviously, telling CIS which specific invite to send. Second, the validated invitee email, where to send it. And third, a required origin field. This is a custom CIS variable, but it provides really valuable context on maybe which landing page or which campaign drove that specific request. Good for tracking.
And the design decision to avoid redirecting the page here seems crucial too. Most web forms, they send the user off to some generic thank you page. That breaks their flow. It can cause confusion.
Exactly. Avoiding that redirection is absolutely key to maintaining that low friction loop we talked about. So instead of navigating away, the platform just uses a bit of JavaScript code to display an on-page inline message. Something simple like, success, check your inbox. The user stays right there on the calendar page, they see the confirmation, and they're immediately able to click and request another event if they want. The technical outcome is really powerful. The invite gets generated and delivered to their email inbox and their actual calendar pretty much simultaneously. And critically, behind the scenes, the CIS system instantly creates an accurate invitee record tying that specific event to that email address, all automated.
So it seems like whether an organizer uses the, simple, maybe opinionated calendar smack design, or they custom build their own interface using the CIS API.
Yeah.
The underlying power stays the same, right? It's that deep data retrieval combined with that instantaneous calendar functionality.
Yeah.
It really is only limited by the developer's imagination using those standard tools, HTML, CSS, JS.
Yeah, if you connect all those dots, the real genius of the system is how it achieves this, total conversion fluency. They solve the data challenge with that clever 2-step sequence, ensuring accuracy and scope. And they solve the user experience challenge by relying on simple UI, that reactivity from Vue, and maybe most importantly, that persistent input data. It just allows the visitor to become this highly efficient, multi-event self-selector. It's pretty slick.
Right. And that's the essential takeaway for you, the learner, listening in. This entire deep dive really demonstrates how robust back-end capabilities like CIS, providing authenticated data and that immediate invite function, when combined with standardized, really purposeful front-end tech, can instantly collapse what's normally a multi-step marketing funnel into a single high-trust conversion point. It truly is the ultimate one-click event sign-up, basically.
Which, raises an important question for you to maybe think about after this. Given the power of this system to enable that rapid, high-volume self-selection, where a visitor might request, say, 5 invites in just 30 seconds, how might event organizers start to leverage this demonstrated immediate interest in multiple events? Could they use it to refine future product offerings, maybe even tiering or pricing bundles based on that instantaneous sign-up behavior? Food for thought.
Definitely something to mull over until our next deep dive. We'll catch you then.